to place the right hand onto the floor, and what I'd like you to do is press your sitting bones down into the floor or into the bolster that you have beneath you or the blanket. Make sure that as you're pressing, the left sitting bone really stays connected to the earth. So the hand is on the floor, you're going to inhale to bring the left arm up, and then as you exhale, you're going to reach over a little. So inhaling, imagine lifting the rib cage away from the hip as you press the sitting bone down. Exhale, reach a little deeper. Inhaling up, exhaling, reach a little deeper. You should feel a really nice stretch through the whole side of your body, going with the flow of your own breath as you inhale, lifting, and exhale to reach. On your next inhale, coming back into center, and we're going to take the position on the other side. So again, inhaling, lifting the rib cage, making space in the lower spine. So placing this time the left hand onto the floor, you're going to inhale the right arm up over the head, and exhale, you're going to reach. So inhale, lift the rib cage, keep the sitting bones pressing down. Exhale, reach a little deeper. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you reach. Inhaling to lift, exhale to reach, and then on the next inhale, coming back into the center. So now we're going to take the spine into its final plane of movement, and that is the transverse plane, where we twist. So for this, I want you to imagine that the rib cage is where you are twisting from. So I don't want you to pull yourself around in this position. I want you to lift the rib cage on the inhale and twist the rib cage on the exhale. So to begin, we're going to bring the right hand behind the back, the left hand onto the right knee. We're going to inhale to lengthen the spine, so grow nice and tall. Keep the sitting bones pressing into the floor. Exhale as you twist and look around behind you. So inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. And it's not the hands that are doing the twisting, it's the rib cage. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist, and on the next inhale, coming back into the center. We take the position on the opposite side. So bringing this time the left hand behind the back, the right hand onto the left knee. We inhale to lengthen the spine. We exhale to twist, looking around behind us. And we look behind us because we're taking the cervical spine also into the twisted position. So inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist. And then on the next inhale, coming back around to the front. So we have now moved the spine in all planes of its movement. So from here, we're going to now start to move out a little from the spine, and we're going to feel our shoulder blades. So let's imagine that the shoulder blades, which are connected to the arm and also a little to the chest here at the front, if we lift them all the way up and relax. So lifting shoulders up towards the ears and let them go. So lifting and letting go. Let's lift one more time and let go. So we're starting then with small circles. So little circles where we move backwards. And imagine now that your shoulder blades are massaging your own back. So giving yourself a nice back massage and really starting to exaggerate. So the shoulder joint is a very complicated little joint. It does not have a huge amount of stability, and it depends very heavily on a lot of connective tissue and a lot of little muscles that provide support. So this is providing a lot of movement and a lot of lotion for that whole area, so very important. And then slowing down the movement and coming to a stop, and then starting in the other direction. So this time we're going to roll forwards instead of backwards. So imagine that you're still massaging your own back with your own shoulder blades, but you're emphasizing a little bit more the closing of the chest as you move forward. So what we're working on here is creating a little bit of movement on the top part of the rib cage, and this is important for breathing. So you can inhale and exhale as you do this, and relax. Okay, so now we have warmed up the spine, we've warmed up the shoulders. We're going to do a little warm up of the wrists. So we just start by making some small circles, and then we change the direction. So starting to feel into the wrist joint. Now we're going to do a little bit of work for all the little extensors in the forearm. So all these little muscles that run along here. So I want you to imagine you have water on your fingers and I want you to try to flick me with the water. Now imagine you really want to get me wet. So get a little faster, faster, flick more, flick harder, faster, 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 and stop. Give everything a little shake. Now we're going to do one more thing, and this is very good if you are suffering from carpal tunnel or if you have any tightness in your wrist. So what we're going to try to do is pull off our hand. So if you take your middle finger and your thumb, and I want you to find the two little bones on your wrist and face your palm away from you, and then just wrap the middle finger and the thumb around so that they are touching. Then I want you to relax your shoulders, and I want you to imagine that you're pulling your elbows away from each other as though you're going to pull your hand off. So it's the elbows that are moving away that's creating this pulling of the hand, and the hand is relaxed. That's just creating a little bit of space in the wrist joint. And give a little shake. We're going to do the same on the opposite side. So again, finding the two little bones, middle finger and thumb, palm facing away. We're just going to grip around, relaxing the shoulders, and then pulling the elbows away from each other. So creating a little bit of space, the hand is relaxed, and give everything a little shake. So we can just do one last thing here for the wrists. So we can just put them on the ground, and we can just take the weight forward a little bit. We can face them away from each other. Very little force going through the wrists here. Face them towards each other. We just move a little. And then we're just going to turn them upside down with the palms facing us. And we're just going to just feel a little. So very little pressure. You're not putting a whole pile of weight into them. And now the wrists are warm. So with that, the next thing that we need to take the attention to is to the hips. So again, we're going to move with our compassion. So throughout the practice, we want to keep compassion. We want to keep a connection to our breath. We want to move with kindness for the body. So when you come around, we're going to take an all fours position. If you have any issues with your knees, so let's say your knees are a little sore and it's maybe uncomfortable to kneel, then you can take that little folded towel or blanket and you can place that beneath your knees so that you have something a little soft beneath them. And this is very good to do if you have any knee problems. So we're going to come to an all fours position. So for this, you want to make sure that you stack your knee beneath your hip, that you stack your ankle in line with your knee, and when you place your hands down, you want the shoulder to be over the elbow, which is over the wrist. Your fingers should be spread nice and wide. The middle and index fingers are pointing straight forward, so nice and spread. And from here, I want you just to collapse down in between the shoulders and then press away. So we're just going to feel into the shoulders a little. So pressing away, and when you're pressing away, I want you to press with the knuckles of the index finger and the pointer finger and the tips of the fingers. So you're taking most of the weight through the mid hand when you do these little scapular presses. So pressing away and coming down. Now, this position is protracted shoulders. So when you press away, that is your shoulder protraction. And you actually want to keep a shoulder protraction through most of the positions that we're going to take in yoga. You should never really be collapsing into your shoulders. You should be using the muscles and the connective tissue to support your shoulders. So from this position, we're going to start to feel our hips. So I want you just to start with tucking and untucking the pelvis. So we're doing some very gentle little movements here. So you're starting to feel, remember when we sat, our sitting bones were pressing into the floor. So there was no freedom in the hips. So here we're just starting to feel into the spine again, but with the freedom of the hips. So as you start to move, I want you to come into cat-cow breathing. So inhaling as we did earlier and curling, but this time you can curl a little more because your hips are free. Exhaling and rounding everything in. So inhaling and exhaling. Find the flow of your own breath. Remember, you're practicing in your own body today with your own pace of breath. Compassion in every movement. And then we're going to come back to center. So just check after your cats and cows that everything is still aligned. Your shoulders are still over your elbows, over your wrists, your knees are still under your hips. We're going to start to do some little circles. So we start with small circles, and you can imagine that you have a marker in your belly button and you're drawing circles on the floor, and you want to start to make bigger and bigger circles. So you're feeling into your hips, and you can close your eyes as you do this, and I really want you to feel all the way around your hip. Now you have a bone, the femur, that comes all the way up, and it has a ball that inserts into the hip socket. I want you to imagine that you're stirring the top of that ball inside of the hip socket as you make this movement. And notice in which direction you are going. So right now I am going around to the right on the way back and up to the left on the way forward. So just notice where you are, and then start to make smaller circles and slowing it down, coming to a stop. And when you come to a stop, realign yourself, make sure everything is in the right position, and then you're going to go in the opposite direction. So this time I'm going to start to the left and then come to the right. So listening to your body, closing your eyes, feeling into your hips as you move. And this can be really nice if you've already done the yoga class today, perhaps, or if you've been doing anything any wee bit strenuous recently, then this will help to release tension, adding a little of the motion equals lotion around your hips, practicing with compassion, feeling the stiffness in your body and trying to move into it. So we slow it down and we come to a stop. So we're just going to realign. I'm just going to move this. We're going to realign into our all fours, and we're going to come to our first downward facing dog of the day. But before we do that, I just want to say that if you have problems with your wrists, then downward dog and a lot of these positions where you're taking your weight in your hand take a little bit of time to get there. So there are some alternatives to having the hands flat. So if you have wrist problems, you can actually come onto your fists and put your thumb forward so that you take the weight not all the way into the wrist joint, but instead into the fists. So if you need that option, it is there for you. Remember, practice with compassion and within the confines of your own body, so within your own current position. So we're going to place the hands on the floor. So if you're going for a full normal downward facing dog, you're going to place your hands on the floor. You're going to turn out your toes, and then you're going to press into the floor with your feet and gently lift your knees off the floor. Now what we want here is a nice long straight spine. So you're going to send your hips up towards the ceiling by pressing into your hands. And when you do so, keep your knees bent. So you want to keep the knees bent, and what you want to come to is a nice long straight spine. And from there you can start to walk your dog. Now if you're curling in your spine, try to turn the hips up a little. So you really want to get into a position here that the priority in this position is not getting your heels to the floor, it is getting your spine into a nice long straight position. And you can walk the feet back a little, you can walk the feet forward a little. So just take a wee moment to feel where you are in your body today and to feel where things are for you. And after walking your dog, you're going to come to stillness. And when you come to stillness, I want you to keep turning your sitting bones up towards the ceiling as you press through the mid hand and lengthen your spine, keeping the fingers connected to the earth, and then look forward between the hands. Take tiny little baby steps up through the middle of the mat until your hands are between your feet. Then bend your knees as much as you need to allow your stomach to rest on your chest. And we're just going to take opposite elbows. Try to leave the rib cage loose. So nod your head yes, just loose head, shake your head no. And then release the hands down to the floor. Press into the feet. And you're going to roll up one vertebra at a time. So the last thing to come up will be your head. Okay, we're on our feet. So I hope that that little bit of movement and the connection to your breath and the coming to the center was a little bit helpful.